If we could please silence our cell phones or turn them off so we don't avoid interruptions. I'll make sure mine is off. It is. And we'd like to lead with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Kathy Campana, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, item B, adoption of the agenda.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public. We need to table action item, so I, 4A, until our May 2nd meeting.
4A,
Yes, sir.
4A.
Yes, sir.
table till our May meeting.
And then there are no more changes to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I will go ahead and move that we adopt the agenda with item 4A under action items being tabled to our May meeting and allow chair to deviate from the agenda as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Call to the public. And our first is going to be, sorry, Emilio, Alfredo Velasquez.
He's older. What are you saying, age before beauty there, Judge?
No, but he's the older brother.
Okay.
He's deferring. Nice belt, Alfredo.
Well, he's walking better though. That's good.
It's nice to see you.
Good to see you too, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Molina and Supervisor Reese, community members, and our county manager, incoming manager, county attorney's office. So first thing I want to say is I want to invite you all on April 25th. We are having a performance by Challenger Elementary. Challenger Elementary in front of the 1904 historic courthouse, a dream of mine. And they're going to be standing out there in front of those pillars. We have invited the merchants of the downtown area. We've invited the people from Court Street. I want to invite everybody here. It's from 9 a.m. to 9:30. And if you haven't been to a Challenger choir performance, it's quite a performance. And especially in front of that beautiful building, it'll be exquisite. I know that this is not on my subject and my call to the public, and I hope you don't take me off the podium.
They haven't even started the clock on you.
Oh, wonderful. So I can sit here for a while. I also want to thank our finance director. I got to meet with him next week, so thank you.
Supervisor Reese is watching his watch.
Okay, so I just want to, I'm free. Okay, so I know there's going to be change of guard in the months to come, and so I want to thank Ms. St. John for everything you did for our office and our educational communities. We couldn't have done it without you. I came in not knowing anything about what a drawdown was. I thought it was a Western movie, and I had to draw down on something, you know, but she taught me about finances and school finance and grants and what was allowed but not allowable, and she was very supportive of our schools and my office, and I thank you for teaching me so much. We had the pleasure of having Jesus Valdez, our incoming county manager, join us at our leadership meeting yesterday, and that spoke volumes. Thank you. I appreciate everything you've done to support us. To a finance director, couldn't do it without you. You keep us in a straight line. And to our attorneys, I know we give you a lot of work, but thank you for all you do to support our projects. And to the Board of Supervisors, thank you for supporting the County School Superintendent's Office.
Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm sorry, Alfredo's used everybody's time. Kathy Campana.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good morning, Kathy.
Just wanted to say what a great thing that the trail is. I see Rudy periodically. But right now, after they've weed-eated around it. We really need the street sweeper to run down it. So if that could be put on the schedule, I would really appreciate it. Between the mud and the cow pies, it could use a little cleaning. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Is there anybody online who would like to address the board or on phone? It'd be *9 on your phone or raise your hand online. Okay. Do we see anybody on your computer screen? There is somebody? Beth? Can you speak? I can't read. Beth?
Beth Outram?
Ultram? Is Ultram? Beth, can you hear us? Can you unmute your phone or computer? Beth, we can't hear you. Is there anything we can do in IT to help this?
What is the date of the Challenger Choir?
Oh, what is, April the 25th. What time is it?
Sorry, I had my wrong headset.
Okay.
I was asking the date of the Challenger Choir. I didn't hear what date it was.
April 25th from 9 to 9:30.
April 25th from 9 to 9:30 in the morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. We're not allowed to do that, but I think the lawyers gave us a pass on that one.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, we can clarify. Oh, good. That was under clarifications. So we're all good. Anybody else who wants to sue us?
That's why we have three lawyers.
Is there anybody else in the online who would like to address the board? Okay, seeing nobody raise their hand or *9 us, we will move on to current events and the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Malera, good morning.
Mr. Chair, good morning. Good morning. First of all, I want to let you know, Joan and I sent your Zulus family our condolences and our prayers for your loss on your employee. LPC meeting 2 weeks ago was postponed. We had it last Friday, and not a whole lot going on, but we had basically the legislature right now is taking next week off while new members fill the vacancies left by Representative Harris' expulsion and Senator Tehran's resignation. Budget talks appear to be going well, judging from comments by the governor and Senator Kavanaugh. So one good note is our project in Ruby Road, the bridge, and our Ramanote roundabout is tracking real well on SB 2543. It was approved by the House and went to Senate Transportation Committee and passed Transportation Committee 5-1. So now we're just waiting on the Senate vote, and then it'll go to the governor. So with all this hopefully going the way it's tracking, we should have our bridge next to Pilot over the railroad, which is going to be really great for the people living in this community, because that tends to be a real challenge for all of us, especially with what's going on, the construction going on there with Loves. And that's all I have to report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Vice Chairman Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and if you don't mind, I would like to request a moment of silence for Daniel.
Torres.
What was his last name?
Torres.
Torres, Daniel. I don't know how many of you had gone to Sulas, but Daniel was a little spark plug. I mean, this kid was absolutely fantastic. And it kind of choking to see that he was a sophomore at Nogales High School, and he just passed away suddenly. He was in a car with his dad and some friends, and he just slumped over and passed away. And it's, you know, often sad to see a young man of that caliber and character that was doing everything he could to better himself and his family kind of pass away silent. So, yeah, Mr. Chairman, if it would be in order, a moment of silence for the young man and his family.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor.
I also had the opportunity to chair the Government Affairs Committee of Chamber at Rio Rico School District 35 last Wednesday. And I want to congratulate the school district for everything that they are doing at the school district. As you know, they passed their bonds. They're going to be really investing in a lot of programs that are going to help their students be able to compete and succeed. They are looking to have the school district as the center of the Rio Rico community. The one great thing that I heard was that they're building a swimming pool, and they were able to hire a contractor from Santa Cruz County to be able to build it, which is great to hear that, you know, our local contractors can bid and do that. They have this licensing for the what are they called? The little aerial, the drones. So you can start learning to get your license. I guess there's a big vacuum for drone operators, and these young people that get their licenses can go out and earn as much as $70,000 a year, which is great. They're also going to be focusing on sports medicine too, because they found that there is a big lack in the country for people to work in the sports medicine arena. And finally, they're going to have a big green room there where they're going to work with kids, and, you know, maybe if you're wanting to make a commercial, whatever, you can work with the school district. Oh, and their food truck. So they have a food truck, and you'll see them at events. And I want to congratulate you know, Superintendent Verdugo and the board for the outstanding things that they're doing there to try to help the students become better. And I know, as I mentioned, we're always in a competition between Nogales and Rio Rico, but it's a friendly competition to make sure that we offer everything that we can to help our students succeed. And I'll report on the item that we have on here. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My report is brief. We had a cold room storage ribbon cutting that I attended, and that is the cold room storage is the port of entry that the County Board of Supervisors approved a donation of $150,000 to, matched with a state grant from the state legislature and Governor Ducey. And also the Customs House brokers participated and actually ran the program to construct it and contributed money. So that is a tremendous thing for our community. It'll help create year-round jobs, and it is the only cold room storage in the state of Arizona for this type of thing. Attended a Border Counties meeting virtually. I had an opportunity with the City of Nogales to meet with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality Director. She replaces Misael Cabrera. That was a very good meeting. NADBank was also attended that meeting. The port authorities from Yuma, Cochise, which is the Douglas Port Authority, and Greater Nogales Santa Cruz County Port Authority hosted a congressional border update last Friday. They had 8 of the 11 congressional delegates were in attendance, so that was really outstanding. And then on the weekend, I attended the Santa Cruz National Heritage Area, designation ceremony. That's something that our employee Mary Dahl has been working on for the last 20 years. It was signed into law in 2019, and they put together their action plan, and so they had their ribbon cutting ceremony. I attended that with Board of Supervisor Chair Adelita Grijalva from Pima County, and that is what I have to report. And Madam Manager.
Good morning again. Over the past 2 weeks, I also met with ADEQ as well as most of county management. Continued work on the class and comp study, which is really exciting to us as a county and our employees, as well as continued working on the personnel policies. I had a meeting with the Tubec Foundation. Jesus and I also attended the county managers and ASIP monthly meetings. I too attended the National Heritage Area event on Saturday. And then finally, over the last day, we've been hosting the Recovery Kentucky individuals from the Fletcher Group, and we're excited to have that study session here upcoming today. That's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm sure law enforcement is in attendance today, and thank you very much for coming, but you're not here for the study sessions or the executive sessions. I'd like to move to the proclamations. To item 10. And Supervisor Reese, would you like to read the proclamation that you requested?
Yes, please. And Alma, can I have a copy of it, please?
And can we get a copy of the Administrative Professional Week one also? So just that everybody knows, it's the next item on the agenda, but we're probably going to do the executive sessions at the end. Okay.
So, as you may or may not be aware of, our public library here in Santa Cruz County is celebrating 100 years of service to the community, and I was fortunate to be able to attend a ceremony that they had a couple of months ago down at the library. And I think it's always important that we have ways to recognize the people that have been involved. So in doing so, I don't know, many of you know that we pay about $280,000 a year, more or less, to the city of Nogales to provide library services outside of the incorporated area of the town. So they help us in Rio Rico and Sonoita. I know Patagonia has their own system, but I believe they still work together. So with that in mind, I thought it was appropriate that we have a proclamation celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Nogales Public Library. Whereas 100 years ago, the Nogales Women's Club, with a $200 donation, founded the first Nogales Public Library. And whereas today, the Nogales Public Library System is supported by a joint city-county budget of over $650,000. And whereas the first librarian, Mrs. Sensor, began working on a salary of $24 a month in 1923, and whereas from 1924 to 1925, a total of 668 people, mostly young readers, registered at the library. And whereas today there are nearly 30,000 Nogales Public Library System card holders in Santa Cruz County alone. And whereas what began as a small storefront in 1923 moved to the upper floor of then City Hall in 1937, and finally on October 7th, 1962 moved to the current main Abe Rockland Memorial Branch Library building, designed by world-renowned and award-winning Arizona architect Benny M. Gonzalez on Grand Avenue. And whereas today the Nogales Public Library System includes the main Abe Rockland Memorial Branch and a full-service branch public libraries in Rio Rico, Tubec, and Sonoita. And whereas establishment of the Nogales Public Library began in 1903 as a women's club civic committee initiative led by Mrs. John J. George. And whereas today the Nogales Public Library System is led by a dedicated board of volunteers from throughout Santa Cruz County, including Chairman Marcelino Varona, Vice Chairman Juanita Havel, Secretary Marva Twaits, Ann Doan, Ed Delsey, Jerry Smith, and Brian Vandervolt. And on our committee, you will see there will be a new member added to the library board. And whereas the Nogales Public Library System, now known as the Nogales-Santa Cruz County Public Library System, survives and thrives today due to the vision of the Nogales Women's Club 100 years ago, the dedication of lifelong learning of the 10 head librarians of the past 100 years, and the countless hours of work committed to keeping and growing the Nogales Public Library from a small storefront to a county-wide system it is today. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Supervisors of Santa Cruz County, do hereby proclaim and celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the establishment of the Nogales Public Library. We acknowledge all who came before us, those whose work has endured that this rich community's treasure exists, and who have entrusted us with their care. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused to be affixed the great seal of the County of Santa Cruz, Chairman Bruce Brecker, Member Rudy Moleta, Member Manny Reese. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt the proclamation as read.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And then on the second proclamation, it's an administrative professional week, and this is sponsored by the Sheriff Hathaway and the Sheriff's Department. Whereas administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating office operations for business, government, educational institutions, and other organizations, and whereas a well-trained workforce is essential for success in today's economy, and whereas the work of administrative professionals requires advanced knowledge and expertise in communications, computer software, office technology, project management, organization, customer service, and other vital office management responsibilities. And whereas Administrative Professionals Week is observed annually in workplaces around the world to recognize the important contributions of administrative staff and is sponsored by International Association of Administrative Professionals. And whereas the state of Arizona joins the International Association of Administrative Professionals in honoring office professionals who make offices work. Their efforts reflect the integral and central role that office professionals play in modern business. Now, therefore, the Board of Supervisors of Santa Cruz County call upon the citizens of Santa Cruz County and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of April 23rd through the 29th as Administrative Professional Week, commemorating administrative professionals who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their community. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of Santa Cruz County to be affixed on the 18th day of April 2023. Bruce Bracker, Chairman, Manuel Reese, Vice Chairman, and Rudy Mullen, Member. Sheriff Hathaway, in office, thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Got a motion?
Move to adopt the proclamation as read.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, there you go. Now we're going to go back
Are you
into,
going to take pictures? You want to take pictures of the administrative, and then we can go into our study session.
okay. Sheriff Hathaway, you want to bring your administrative assistants up?
Yes, sir. If I could just sign this one.
Oh, is that one there?
Might as well.
turn.
There we go. You can stay in the middle and we'll,
We gotta move this chair.
I'll be over here. There we go. Here, how's that? You got us? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for the list.
Thank you for putting it on there.
Well, I hope you weren't planning on a linear meeting because we're jumping all over this agenda. I'm going to move into a study session, item J, which is a presentation of the Recovery Kentucky program presented by the Fletcher Group Incorporated. And I'm going to introduce Judge Velasquez so that he can introduce this program. So do I have to have a motion to move into study session? I have to have a motion before you
Go ahead
speak.
and move that we recess regular session and convene study session. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Judge Velasquez, you're on.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Bracker, Supervisor Moleta, and Supervisor Reese, county attorneys, county manager, incoming manager, and financial director, and community members. Thank you for having us here today. We're very excited for the presentation that's going to be provided today by the Fletcher Group from Kentucky. But first and foremost, I just want to say is that, your Justice Court has been very much trailblazing in terms of setting up specialty courts. And one of the things is that we wanted to go ahead and take this to another level, a groundbreaking level, heights of being able to, with the support of you, the supervisors, the elected officials, and the community, to be able to implement a recovery center in the Santa Cruz County juvenile, in the jail. One of the things is that the individuals we have here today have worked very tirelessly with marginalized and people who have been dealing with addictions and homelessness, and have gone out of the way to establish these recovery centers in Kentucky, which have been very successful. We got connected through individuals, through Mariposa, through Martin, and we were able to collaborate with them and consult regarding what they have to bring for us today. So with that, I just want to say I want to welcome Ms. Jennifer White, who is the Director of Health Initiatives, and also welcome Mr. Tony White, Director of Outreach. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Board. Thank you, county members, and thank you for the community. It's kind of overwhelming for us to be in a rural community and see this kind of support, and know that substance use disorder touches everyone's lives, and what you all are willing to do to show up to support those individuals in your community. So I'm Jennifer White. As Judge said, I am the National Director of Health Initiatives. I'm also a social worker and a person in long-term recovery since 2007. Before coming to the Fletcher Group, I worked with Kentucky State Public Defender's Office, and part of my role there was to mitigate with individuals that had charges that were around substance use disorders, where it was clear that their substance use disorder, their mental health issues were a direct cause of the reason that they were in the criminal legal system, and what they really needed was proper level of long-term recovery and recovery support services. And it was in that role that Governor Fletcher was able to bring me in to support this initiative. Tony?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tony White, and I am the Director of Outreach with the Fletcher Group, and also a person committed to long-term recovery since July 8th of 2003. And I'm just looking forward to this opportunity to present this powerful model of recovery. And one of the things that we talk about is that addiction is the opposite of connection, and how this model provides that connection so that people can find a pathway to long-term recovery and purposeful, meaningful lives.
Thanks, Tony. And real briefly, I wanted to note that on this slide, I did put the county population estimated in 2022 for Santa Cruz. And the reason I did that is because you're going to see some really beautiful facilities, and you're going to see some really, what may seem like really big numbers for small rural communities. And I assure you that counties of your size and much smaller have been able to implement this program very successfully. So in some of the pictures that you're going to see in these buildings, you will also note their county population as well. There we go. So the Fletcher Group is a rural center of excellence. We work nationally off of a grant from the Health Resource and Service Administration as part of their Rural Communities Opioid Response Program. Again, all of the pictures that you're going to see throughout this presentation are of the Recovery Kentucky centers in Kentucky and of clients or alumni of these centers. And yes, we do have permission to share their pictures. I was told there's a lag between slides, so. The Fletcher Group does not own or operate any recovery centers. What we do is provide technical assistance that's evidence-based and best practices for communities that are interested in expanding their recovery support services and recovery housing. We also focus specifically on rural communities. We also work with partners nationally to improve standards in a single united voice. I think we've all heard about bad recovery houses and bad transitional houses. And so we want to make sure that there are qualities and there are standards nationally to be able to support this type of work. We're going to get there. So a little bit about the Fletcher Group. The centers that you're going to see are modeled after two urban centers, but they were replicated, as Tony will speak a little bit more, into the rural areas of Kentucky. They were replicated from the Healing Place and the Hope Center that were started in the late 80s and late 90s. So our co-founder is former governor of Kentucky, Governor Fletcher. He's also a primary care physician and currently serves as our medical director. But when he was in office, he saw this great need across Kentucky for to be able to serve our homeless population, and especially those that were marginalized, vulnerable, and had substance use disorders. And so he brought all of his heads of his cabinets together and started having this discussion about what this would look like to replicate this proven model across the congressional districts. And so that was done by a joint partnership throughout the state. And if you've got questions along the way, we don't need to hold questions till the end at all. We don't mind. I'd rather just address them while they're fresh. So why Santa Cruz? Judge kind of touched on this a little bit. We were able to meet at a conference with Martine, your jail liaison, and Yara Castro from Mariposa, and talk about this. And interest grew, and they brought some of their colleagues to Kentucky and toured a couple of the facilities. And in that spirit, I invite the board and anyone else in your community that would be interested in coming down and touring these facilities to please do so. We do this within the community within Kentucky and other states that are interested. This is a model that's great, and we want to be able to show the good work that's happening and teach people how that they can improve their recovery services in their states. Before I hand this over to Tony, I wanted to touch a little bit on treatment versus recovery. So I'm going to talk a lot about recovery, and what people are normally used to is treatment. So the 28-day clinical models of treatment, maybe you go to 60 days, but what happens in these facilities is people come in, they go to their therapy sessions, everything's catered to them, their meals are catered, you've got a set bedtime, and then what happens after your 28 days and your insurance stops paying, they put you back on the street and say, go find a 12-step program, go find some mutual support, and figure out how to do this on your own. This is a much different model. This is a recovery ecosystem. And when I talk about recovery ecosystems, what I'm also including in that is that this is a long-term 6 to 12-month program for eligible individuals that are able to complete the program. They can provide up to 24 months of stable housing and then work with them on transitional housing after this. They can look at workforce development. They can improve their education through these programs. But because it's a long-term peer-led model, what this allows is somebody just to breathe and not be forced into a quick response and have to recover. It gives them the tools through a therapeutic community that Tony will talk about later to be able to hold themselves accountable and others accountable and learn what that language is. It also helps them build those relationships and look at how all of the skills that they're learning here are able to transition into normal life and normal community. They all work together. Everybody has a role in the kitchen, so it's a community kitchen, and everyone learns kitchen skills and meal prep skills. Some people have never cooked before. And they all work on lawn maintenance, and they all work on watch. And so there's all of this skill building. And more than anything, what they learn at the end of this is stable recovery. They learn a whole lot more about who they are, and they're very solid in their recovery. And when they move forward, it allows them to have fun again. A lot of the people that come into recovery have forgotten how to have fun and how to laugh and how to smile. And you'll see that throughout this presentation. Tony?
Actually, I have a question.
Question? Yes.
You asked me to ask questions during your presentation. How does it determine who attends this facility?
Sure. So the way that this facility, these facilities are set up, they're designed for the marginally housed or the homeless individuals. So not everyone is appropriate for these facilities. They are substance use disorder recovery centers. So your severe mental illnesses and some of the medications we do find aren't necessarily appropriate, but there are ways to work with that population as well. So, and I'm showing you a model that what Kentucky has done. And I will say that the Fletcher Group has been able to look at that model and expand a little bit about each community. It doesn't need to be a cookie cutter. So we can look at what each community needs and adjust that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry? Sure, I can cover the data. So we usually do this a little bit later after we show you a little bit more about the program, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of show you up front. The Recovery Kentucky Centers for over a decade now have been using a third-party evaluator, the University of Kentucky, to track their outcomes and data. So this is 2023. I also included 2022 because COVID kind of just adjusted a few things for all of us, I think. But you will find, and we can provide other years, that the consistency in the data here has been longitudinal. But this is the statistics for individuals that come in at intake. For instance, they're showing 89% of illegal substance use, and at follow-up, 6 to 12 months later, they're only reporting 15%. And even this 15%, if they want to come back into the fold and be part of the recovery center again, they're always welcome. And I will also put this to anybody who wants to have this presentation in a PDF, so you can look at these numbers or anything else in the presentation a little bit later. But you can see the results are very similar also in 2022.
Thank you.
So as Jen has mentioned, the long-term residential peer-led, peer-driven social model of
Can you
recovery.
turn the mic up so it catches your voice? Thank you.
There we go. Is that a little better? Okay, thank you. In that, this model, I'm an alumni of the model from 2003 in Louisville, Kentucky. And it just flat out saved my life. It provided connection, it provided teaching, it provided a brotherhood and a sisterhood with the women's program. And it's just an incredible way for folks to find a new way of life and to move from some of the stigmatizing views that for those of us from recovery have been facing. So as Jen mentioned, in 2005, Governor Fletcher basically brought the Homeless Coalition together, and they came up with a report. And initially this model was a tool in addressing homelessness. If you think about homelessness and marginalized communities, one of the main drivers is substance use disorder. So it was one of those tools to provide safe housing and recovery education to provide folks a way towards long-term recovery. And there are currently 17 programs throughout the state. If we could go here, we can go back one more. I'm sorry. And I'll just add that the following administration, the Steve Beshear administration, saw that the numbers were so great that they decided to add 4 more centers. So it began with 10, and then they added another 4 with the Beshear administration. And so all the programs have at least 100 beds, and 35 of those beds are either 35 to 37 are basically Section 8 project-based units. And once the lease begins, and we'll show at what point the residents begin that, they can stay in the program up to 2 years. The other thing, I didn't mention this, I come to this with 12 and a half years experience of having been program director of 2 of these 100-bed facilities. The first men's center that opened in Moorhead in 2007 in Moorhead, Kentucky, and then 2016, the Genesis Recovery Kentucky Center in Grayson. So, and so what we've been able to see is that, one, it has expanded 12-step meetings, Celebrate Recovery. There's an organization called YPR, Young People in Recovery, and they host all recovery meetings, and so that anyone who is seeking a pathway towards recovery and a change in life can participate and have this powerful support group to help them to continue your journey towards recovery. And so the continuum of addiction recovery, the first stage is pre-recovery engagement. Let's see here. There we, yep. Pre-recovery engagement, which is basically just the screen where someone can do it. All potential residents are asked to call each of the centers themselves, and so that basically we get some skin in the game. It's not someone saying, here, we are going to send you here. It is a request by the referral services to say, hey, we've got this great program. Let me give you a quick outline. You go ahead and call. You have a question?
And that's the pool of people that you pull from, people that are being referred to you by?
Department of Corrections, from social service agencies, from probation parole, for drug court participants that may be deemed that might need a higher level of care. Okay. And self-referrals, yes.
People
And
who
so,
just walk up.
Pardon?
People who just walk up to your door and knock on it.
The 2 original models are like that. If they call and do a pre-screen, we will get them a bed as soon as possible, as soon as available. Recovery initiation and stabilization, which I'll go into a little bit, which is basically your safe off the street or detox, and motivational track 1 and motivational track 2, which I'll go into greater detail later. Phase 1 is your recovery maintenance stage, and phase 2, there's 2 portions of that where you become a peer mentor and do small C case management and give back to the program and teach the classes and really get some skin in the game and have an opportunity to practice the recovery principles that you've been taught. And the second is basic transition. Stay here, get a job, save a little money, prepare to move into independent living. And so again, as I mentioned, safe off the streets, this is a non-medical detox, depending on the substance. It can last from anywhere from 3 to 10 days. Those potential residents that come from an institution where they haven't used anything, they will spend at least 24 hours in that kind of dorm detox area, just to get acclimated to the new process. And then a motivational track 1 and 2, there are at least 3 classes a day. And the classes are the curriculum or the treatment protocol that is used. It's called Recovery Dynamics. And Recovery Dynamics teaches the 12 steps out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it is geared to teach the steps in a group setting. And there were time for questions and educations, and it's got great charts and really gives a detailed information on how a human being can incorporate the 12 steps and to grow in their own individual spiritual belief so that that belief can become the North Star so that they may continue their life forward. And then phase one, that's actually when you're considered being in the program. There are still classes in the day, and Jen mentioned the residents are the ones who are preparing the meals. There is a kitchen supervisor who is staff, but the residents are doing the work, so that teamwork, learning how to cook, meal preparation, and then setting up the meal for the next kitchen crew that will come in the next day. The residents wash each other's clothes. They do the grounds, and there's a position called watch where there's 15-minute rounds that are done, and so there's that buy-in, and this is their home. So and treated as such. And as I mentioned before, phase two, become a peer mentor. Again, to teach the class, to teach the 12-step classes, to role model what recovery looks like. The level of maturity and recovery capital and in this recovery ecosystem, with this recovery first focused environment, is in conjunction with the individuals learning how to take responsibility for themselves and knowing the value of that and being willing to give that back is just an incredible motivator and a tool for change.
So just quickly, and I would assume that many of your participants have families. At some point, do you bring the families in to work with the person that's attending your courses so that they can also be that type of level support for them when they come out of the program or continue to assist them to move forward? Do you do that as well?
Absolutely. There are, at the centers where I was, but there are other that we didn't do that, but there are other centers who have that exact same model where they have family day, and they do an education on recovery, they do an education on substance use disorders, and do education on proper relationships. And sometimes when someone is in recovery and they begin to grow and they change, that's intimidating to the family because sometimes that's not the same person that they're used to, but over a period of time. And so I hope that answered your question.
Yes.
Okay. So community and phase. From 9 to 10 o'clock, 3 times a week, there is an accountability meeting. And so very simply, let's say that the judge and Martine and I are working in the kitchen, and judge is serving, Martine is and it's lunch, and Martine is making sure the judge has got food to be able to serve, and he's also cleaning up lunch and preparing for dinner, and I'm washing dishes. And I decide I want to call my mom, I want to call my girl, I want to go change my shoes, I want to go smoke a cigarette, and so at noon I walk out. And so you guys are residents in the program, and you come over and there's no utensils. And so now I've let the team down because one of them has got to stop what they're doing to be able to wash utensils so that you guys you can eat. And so when I come back, their responsibility would be, tell them whatever it was that you wanted to do was perfectly fine, but the time that you chose to do it was really selfish and you let us down. Is that appropriate or inappropriate? Now, if my response is kick rocks, pound sand, mind your own doggone business, then come the community meeting, it would be their responsibility as brothers, my brothers in recovery, say, hey, Tom, we have a concern for your inappropriate behavior, and they would just simply tell that story. I would be given an opportunity to respond, and then the rest of the community members. Up to this point, there's about 2-3 months of recovery capital that they've been in the steps, and the ability to wrap those recovery principles of honesty, of perseverance, of integrity, and they would share those things with me, and they would make suggestions based on my response. The rest of the community will vote, and there's just different numbered suggestions. And whatever the consciousness of the community is, they would ask me if I was willing to accept those recovery writings and recovery actions that they suggested. And if any of those roles were switched, why they did what they did is going to be completely different from why I did what I did. So it's person-centered. And so after the community, I would receive my consequences. One of the peer mentors would answer any questions. I would go ahead and sign, and it's usually about 2 weeks to do the writings, and maybe a couple of weeks or for whatever actions they might suggest that I take. And most importantly, with it being tailor-made, it's not a cookie-cutter solution. It's an individual base that would help me grow. And for those that are maybe a little reluctant to share, in that circle there is safety and power. For those that might be a little gregarious, hey, take a step back. Let's everybody have an opportunity to participate. And so it just levels out the whole human condition. And so, again, safe off the streets, the detox, as you can see, is beautiful dormitories. And let me say, the motivational track, I hope, am I getting too in the weeds? All right, sorry. God. Each human being has gifts. And in the motivational tracks, and in active substance use disorder, we use our gifts and it ends up being, we do things that bring ourselves to the attention of law enforcement, and you deem us not safe, and have these places where you want to put us for a little while. And so if we're looking at it from that it's addiction, substance use disorder that is driving that, let's get service. But the motivational track is an opportunity to take whatever those gifts that you have. Can you take those gifts and put those towards your recovery instead of trying to get that next drink or drug or next substance? I felt her eyes on the back of my head. So the rooms, just an example of the rooms for the phase one, and real quick, the phase 1, 4 to 5, maybe 6 months, motivational tracks 2.5 to 3 months, and that when a resident transitions from phase 1 to phase 2, this room becomes their apartment. Again, from the time that they began that lease, they can be in that room for up to 2 months, for 24 months, 2 years, excuse me. And it's just another example of, this is the first women's center to open in Henderson, Kentucky, the Women's Addiction Recovery Manor. And again, these are beautiful facilities. And I hope I don't offend anybody, but you guys have beautiful architecture out here, so scrap this architecture that you see, and you guys build something that it's beautiful here. Let's see here. So don't let this scare you. So this is a recovery center that we've mentioned, and what WARM did was that one of the members, the originators of that took responsibility, he was a banker, and so they built low-income housing in 2 different sections, again with a community building, and this is a women's center, so that the women, if they transition out of this housing here and transition as alumni, they can now have that apartment where their families can be reunited. And also too, the last time I spoke to the program director when they opened in June of 2007, there's still families there who do not have a substance use disorder. They feel so safe and they feel so engaged that, and the cool thing about the Recovery Kentucky Network is that if there are men and women from other recovery centers who are alumni that want to move to Henderson, if there's an availability, they'll have an opportunity to live in one of these units. Let's see, what do we got here next? Here we go. Guys, I apologize if I took, yes?
I have a question for you. But your recovery program for the people that you're intaking is, did I hear you correctly, is 9 to 10 days in the main facility?
For the detox can last from the separation from the substance can last anywhere from 3 to 10 days, depending on the substance.
Okay, the detox.
Yes, and then they transition to the SOS motivational tracks in phase 1.
And then how long is that? How long averages a stay after they've detoxed and they're in the facilities? Just months, weeks?
The motivational track, it's based on the residents' willingness to participate, and so motivational tracks 1 and 2 can be a total up to 2.5 months. Phase 1 is anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and then up to probably about that time, 1.5 years, someone could be in phase 2 as a peer mentor or in transitional living.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, just to touch on that just a little bit more. So from an individual that comes in to the center from the time of intake.
Before you start, we have a question in the audience.
Sure.
Can you raise? You need to use the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I just wanted to say, my name's Brock Bennington. I work for Cornerstone Behavioral Health. We're a level 1 psych facility up in Tucson. So Martine invited me down here. I actually went through the Hope Center in Lexington, Kentucky, back in 2014 to 2015. I actually stayed there, went through phase 1, went through phase 2. I was under Dave Brown. He was the program coordinator up there. So I'm pretty familiar with this program. I know a lot of people in Kentucky that have had high success results due to the ability of the long term of the program. They even helped me get an apartment afterwards too. So they actually put the deposit for my apartment afterwards. So I went from, I think it was DOC who had actually sent me over there, and then I was sent to the program, and then by the time it was done, got my own place and have been now, I work in the recovery industry and help get people psych and detox beds. So I just want to give them a real quick plug and, thank you for all the work you guys do. So.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I
Thank you
swear
very
that
much,
wasn't,
and congratulations.
yeah. And I swear that wasn't solicited, so, our work is kind of done here.
You get to buy them lunch later.
Right. But, as Tony was speaking, from the time of intake, so the first time somebody walks in that door to the time they've completed that phase 1 portion, on average, it's 6 to 9 months. It depends on, we're going to bump our head, and this is a safe space to allow people to bump their head and then learn new tools to be able to act differently and have a different response. When you go into that second phase, that 9 months can extend all the way up to 24 months. And then offer transitional support to be able to get their own. So nobody's really kicked out the door, but to actually do the program on average is 6 to 9 months. So this can be the boring and the scary part. So I will go through this really quickly. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I also want to say don't be scared by this. So I want to tell you how Recovery Kentucky set this up, how it's currently funded, just very high level and brief. But also I want to wrap it up on the end and talk a little bit about how there's been some changes over the last 15 years in across the country in some financing. And know that, again, this is not a cookie cutter solution. This is what worked for the communities in Kentucky. What works here for you all, the program model is a fabulous model, but do you all instantly want to jump into a 100-bed facility? I'm not trying to scare you, just want to lay some groundwork for what they did.
Before we go into that, can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Judge, you've had, I don't know.
So you must be wondering how this is all going to be tying in here, right? One of the things is that we have incredible support from people who are providing grants. Ms. Hunley from the County Attorney's Office has been very instrumental also in helping us trying to get this all together along with Jennifer St. John. And I just want to say that, one of the things, so, we're talking about how it works there in Kentucky. How it's going to work here in Santa Cruz County is it's going to be a pilot program. When I said groundbreaking, I mean, we're going to go present to the Attorney Generals on Thursday because they are very interested in what we have to offer, and no one else in the state is doing this. So as a pilot program, the way it's going to work is that, here at the border, we have a lot of issues with drugs. There's a lot of people who are being arrested. So Martin, my jail liaison, is having to refer people out constantly. And if we have a program here, we would be able to go ahead and take them from the jail immediately to the program. And we would be able to engage them in that immediately. So that's one of the things. The recovery courts program that I have on an outpatient basis right now, that one is 12 to 15 months, and it's based on the same concept, accountability and responsibility. That's exactly what this program is about, and that's why it's so effective, right? Because of the social model that they have. So I kind of wanted to throw that in there before we go into the financial component, just so you understand how it's going to work for us. It's a pilot program. It will be small. It's going to be with the jail, but we're also going to engage the community to be able to refer people there, right? So it's a whole different concept and very innovative for our county. But if we were to go ahead and go through with that, I'll tell you, it is going to be incredible, incredible. And I'll tell you something. We have people right now who are actually, people that are pulling together for us that are actually saying, here's grant money. We're going to support in what you do. So I just want you to keep that all in mind before she goes into her financial. Thank you.
So,
I was thinking, Judge, you were going to give up your court's budget to do this, so.
so,
Lion Stream.
construction on these facilities through the Recovery Kentucky program was a debt-free process. Most of it was utilizing federal funds through low-income housing tax credits, home funds, the affordable housing units, and the federal loan home bank. So again, remember, this is a pre-2020 cost, and every community is a little bit different, and inflation's happened a little bit since then. But as Judge spoke, we're not necessarily looking at jumping into a 100-bed facility, so this wouldn't be the initial capital stack, especially if we could use properties that are already available, and we're just looking at the operational piece and minor construction. But the beauty is, it was federal money, so it wasn't your local or your state money that was able to do this. I'm trying, guys. There we go. So again, the operational was a braided funding. And through the braided funding, as we've talked a little bit about, they utilized Department of Corrections per diems. So to house an individual in the incarceration facility is extremely expensive. And what they have found is locking people up doesn't work. Just like 28-day treatment centers aren't working for most. Incarcerating a chronic medical condition just doesn't work. So approximately 60% of all of the beds across Kentucky are designated for Department of Corrections, and they pay a per diem, which is about a third of what it costs them to normally house this individual and not offer any services within the Department of Corrections. As Tony spoke, they also use project-based HUD vouchers. These are different than what a lot of people are used to as person-based vouchers. So it wouldn't be taking away from your community. These are specific set-asides that are done for projects. There's also community development block grants that the governor has set aside and legislation has set aside. The beauty of those is they are done in the communities through the local government. So the local government in Kentucky gets 10% just for allowing the funds to flow through. Also utilizing food stamps. So most of these individuals are homeless, marginally housed, indigent, and when they qualify for this program, they also qualify for SNAP, and they cook their own meals. So everyone voluntarily hands over their cards to be able to support some of the meals that are being made in the community. And then there are some local and miscellaneous funds. So this is how it works in Kentucky. It's still working in Kentucky. But what I will say is what everyone is finding out is that housing and stable housing is really important to be able to maintain recovery. And this is being looked at nationally by lots of different organizations. So the Kentucky centers have kept this funding model, but as the Fletcher Group has worked across the country to be able to adjust this to communities like yours and to fit the extra needs like workforce development and pieces like that are needed, other grants and other funding structures have evolved over the last decade, and I think over the next couple of years we'll only see more. We have insurance companies looking at now, they understand the housing component, they understand the long-term component, so there's a lot of different braided fundings, and I will tell you I've talked to some people in the sober living area in Arizona who says there's a lot of money in Arizona for rural communities as well that's not being tapped into.
Alfredo, up there.
Mr. Voss.
Oh, yes. Oops, sorry, Jennifer.
I gotta do a Phil Donahue there.
Does the program also include juveniles?
This is for adults only.
You have to wait for the mic.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was loud enough. Okay, maybe not. People on the phone. That's true. I got it. This is for adults only. There is a component that could be done for juveniles, but right now with the Recovery Kentucky and the outcome studies that have been done, I really don't want to talk a little bit out of that scope of work, but I'd be glad to talk to you about it on the side if you'd like. So that's kind of the end of where we're at. These are some of the residents, some of the fun things they get to do within the communities. So I guess we can open the floor for anyone that's got additional questions.
So, I know. Oh,
Good afternoon. Is it going to be co-ed or just male or just female?
Either or is the way that they're set up. So hopefully we could start with men and then do a women's program also.
Yeah, we don't ever necessarily recommend doing any co-ed facilities. You end up with a whole other program, and then we're talking about men. So then we have to start thinking about, the pregnancy centers and
then you
things
need
like
the
that.
chaperones.
Right. I will tell you that one of the ways that Kentucky dealt with this, because that was a question, that they wanted to make sure that they were serving all of their population. When they expanded through the congressional districts, what they agreed to do was open a men's center and a women's center, not on the same campus, within each of the congressional districts. So we do have an equal amount of beds to be able to serve all the individuals.
I think that's important. The other thing too is, as they begin to transition out, do you have local work opportunities? So do you have people that are always looking for employees, workforce development, where they can, you go through a program and you've made strides. You see that, as you mentioned, that you were at one time part of the program, and now you're out there serving your constituents. So there's an opportunity for your what is it that your graduates or your peer people that go out to work and are able to fulfill those same duties as an individual or as a father or as a mother or whatever the case may be.
Yes, now going through the program was a peer mentor, and then after about a year in the program total, an opportunity came open to be a facilitator at a 47-bed recovery house in Louisville, and started as a peer and then worked my way up to manager within that house, and then the opportunity to be a part of the transition team to help open the first men's center in Moorhead came up as an operations manager, and then a year later was promoted to program director, and from Moorhead to if you had asked me 20 years ago if I would be this guy to be able to come share this, I'd ask you what you were on and could I have some of that too. And where, again, the opportunity, the educational opportunities, vocational opportunities, the reconnection with family, being a former program director, flipping through Facebook, I'm looking at guys with new cars and professions and hugging babies and, with their grandkids and being grandparents and grandsons and granddaughters. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
And if I may add to that, I think you've got another example of in the recovery community. And outside of the recovery community, part of what the Fletcher Group has been able to do is utilize additional federal funds in the workforce space to be able to find the skills that are needed in a community and work with technical colleges and certification programs to also find successful employment outside. Where are we going?
Thank you, Dan Don. Just on a state level, who provides the oversight of your program?
So during the Fletcher administration, Governor Fletcher initiated and created Recovery Kentucky. And Recovery Kentucky is under the umbrella of Kentucky Housing Corporation. And so it's a permanent supportive housing program with recovery education. So please forgive me, what your housing facilitator here in Arizona that facilitates HUD? That could be Arizona, yeah. And so there are again with the partnership with Department of Corrections, they come in and they do tours and they do inspections. With operating under the NAR standards, if it went that way, it would be the state NAR affiliate that would come in and say, okay, are you following these NAR guidelines to continue to operate this program. So there's all types of oversight, but more times than not, those of us who are in recovery, it's like, yeah, man, you can't do that. That's dishonest, that's selfish, it's immoral.
No, we got another microphone.
Okay. And I'll also add to that, currently in the state of Arizona, there is licensing that is required and certification through, he spoke about NAR, which is the National Association of Recovery Residences, which sets that standard. You have a state recovery housing organization that is part of that national, and certification and annual inspections would go along with all of that.
Jerry Navarro, Rio Rico resident. Initially, do you plan to have both women's and men's facility as you start this as a model, or is it just going to be men's and then later women's, or vice versa?
So I think I would defer to someone in the community that's on the stakeholder board right now to discuss that, if you all would any of you all like to, or would you? Sure. Thank you, Kim.
So I think our initial plan is to try to use, assuming that the board approves this, of course, is to try to use some existing facilities for a very small 30-bed facility. Our plan would be to start with the men's facility. We're going to see how much money we can get for grants. If we get enough money from grants to do a men's and a women's facility, we would like to do that, but we may have to stagger them because I understand that it's quite an endeavor to get one off the ground, and we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. So I think the plan would be to start with a men's facility and then stagger starting a women's facility on a smaller scale, like 30 beds. And then from there, our plan would be, assuming we can get the federal funds that we're talking about, to move toward a larger facility and construction.
Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Malera.
So do we have any property right now in mind or not?
I think we're getting into the weeds. We got to get the funding first. Supervisor Malera.
Hey, Tony, Jennifer, first of all, thank you. And I want to commend you both because you've gone through where you went through the program and now you made it a career. I believe this gentleman's in the same situation as well. And you know, you've got, yeah, you've got the right formula. You know, as a former coach, it just, accountability and responsibility are huge. And when you have peers involved and you entrust in each other 100%, you know, it's huge. I think it provides an incredible family atmosphere that these people have never felt. Yeah. They come from fractured situations, and you provided them a new tool, a new environment, and I commend you.
Thank you.
I thank you, Judge, for bringing this forth. I think it's a great program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, this connection would not have been made if we hadn't met Yara and Martine and Rochester. And it was just through a conversation. And I think they both recognize the value of long-term, and especially with Martine's lived experiences. Like, if I could quote you, it's like, man, I wish I could have went through something like that early, and I may have gotten it a little sooner. And so these seeds that have been planted, the hope that we get to build, and I will say build this beautiful recovery forest here in Santa Cruz and Nogales. It's just a privilege to be a part of this, and all we're doing is just trying to hand you guys what we've been given for free and for fun.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Chairman and Tony and Jennifer, you know, sometimes we go to conferences and we never know who we're going to meet or what idea we're going to get. And I think the model that you're presenting to us here today is a model that I believe could work in our community. It's going to take a lot of hard work, And I'm glad that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, that the program is already working. And I'm sure that if our staff reaches out to you, you will share, maybe even help with some kind of training, even though, you know, we'll go ahead and probably reimburse you for coming for travel and foods or whatnot, probably, to help train the peers. Because I think it's important that we find ways to try to address the dysfunction that is happening within families because of drug use or alcohol, you know, other things that are affecting our great country. And if we find a method that we're able to help our residents become better citizens and better contributors to society, then I'm all for it. And so it's always good to see what you have done there. And as they say, we need to learn how to walk before we run. And I think that the 30-bed is probably a doable program, but we also have to find ways to have, whether it's through the Attorney General's office or whether it's through our congressional delegation, to find, I know people don't like to talk about earmarks, but that's how things get done sometimes, is you get a little bit of seed money and then you begin to grow it. So thank you so much for coming out here. It was nice meeting you and talking to you out there. And I wish you guys much success. And it's evident that you're already having a lot of success. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Reese, if I may, the Fletcher Group is free, just so you know. They have provided free technical support to us. They've flown out here on the Fletcher Group's dime, so just so you know, they'll continue to, exactly, they'll continue to provide that free support to us, and they even have a transition team that they think they can help us get our program up and running. So just so you know, those steps are already in the,
So you already got them.
available. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for part of your budget there, Judge.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for flying out here and making this presentation to us. Judge Velasquez and Kim, Deputy County Attorney Conley, excuse me. I wish you all the success in pulling this together, and just keep us apprised, and we'll try to do what we can do to support you in this effort.
Thank you very much for your time and your support.
If I could just add one more reminder, please come visit. Come tour the facility. It's, we call it, we just want to dip you in the sauce. Because there's just some things that have to be experienced. And
I don't know,
being
that's
a
not
former
part
coach.
of the Fletcher Group, so we have to go on.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a 2-minute recess right now, and then we'll come back. Beginning of the session, I said that we were going to try to hold off on our executive sessions till the end. We cannot. We have attorneys waiting to speak to us online, on the phone. So
Do they charge by the hour, Mr. Chairman?
they do charge us by the
Oh,
hour.
they're here. So, Mr. Chairman, I will go ahead and move that we adjourn our study session, reconvene our regular meeting, and then at, do we read all 3 or 4?
No, we'll do executive session, executive item, to address executive items 3 through 6.
So, I did make a motion to,
So do I hear a motion to,
so we can adjourn our study session and convene into the executive sessions. That's my motion. Second.
I have a motion, a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have to clear the room for our executive sessions. I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, I will go ahead and move that we end our executive session and reconvene regular meeting. Second.
I have a motion, a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I think we're done today, right, guys? Okay, I lied. On the dais.
Like to.
Item, we're going to move to,
G?
oh my God.
Yeah, we still go. Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move that
Item
we
E.
recess and convene into the flood control district.
Second.
We need to do item E,
Which is item E?
department reports and activities. You want to do, is that part of the regular thing? Let's go to the flood control, let's go jail district. And then let's go regular session, and then we'll go EI.
So we gotta do the jail district too, so.
Yeah. So let's go from flood, let's go into flood, and then from flood, let's go into jail, and then let's go into regular session.
We can go to,
We need to vote too.
So we're moving into the flood control?
yes, I moved, so moved.
And
I seconded.
it carried unanimously.
Okay.
Aye, just in case.
Aye.
Is anybody here to give a flood control report?
No, we're hiring a flood control.
Move to approve.
Okay, discussion and possible action to authorize and fill vacant flood control coordinator position.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Move to adjourn flood control and
Convene into the jail.
Move to jail?
reconvene into regular session.
Oh, you
Jail.
wanna do the jail district? Let's
Jail.
do the jail
Okay,
district.
and move into
Second.
jail district.
I have a motion is second, any discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We are in jail district. Item 1, discussion possible action to approve First Amendment to inmate housing intergovernmental agreement with the town of Oro Valley to increase per inmate rate per diem from $65 a day to $78.18 per day.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to give credit to Bill for, I know it's a small increase, but over time it's significant. And Bill brought this to everyone's attention and took care of it. So good job, Bill.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Yeah, Billy.
I'm going to ask you a question on the next one, Bill. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 2, discussion possible action to approve modification number 3 to intergovernmental agreement number 8-10-0042 with the U.S. Marshal Service to include Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, for housing inmates.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second under discussion. Have we negotiated a rate with them?
No, so that one's piggybacked off the U.S. Marshal Service agreement. There has been historically some question whether HSI actually pays their end of things. And so U.S. Marshal Service has agreed as part of this that they will act as guarantor on that. With respect to the main agreement with the U.S. Marshal Service, we have negotiated to have the price increase. They agree to increase the price, but they have a computer system that you must submit the request on that multiple employees of the county have tried to log in or get access to, and then they're just left sitting there for a while. So it's in progress.
What's our current rate with them?
Our current rate with them is 65, and we would be adjusting to 78.18 or higher.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I hear a motion to move into a regular session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are going to go back to item number E, Department Reports and Activities, Finance, Cash, Investments, Expenditures, and Revenues. Mauricio, you're on.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have two reports. I have the cash and investment report, and also I'll read off the general fund performance report as well. So the cash and investment report, the general fund has an overall balance of $18,829,308 with an investment amount of $14,620,000. The road fund has an overall balance of $1,454,135 with an investment amount of $7,173. The flood control district fund has an overall balance of $1,121,761 with an investment amount of $271,802. The jail district has an overall balance of $4,898,141 with an investment amount of just a little bit over $1 million. So total for all funds, $50,191,517 with an investment amount of $17,796,732. For an estimated end of the month balance of $16,313,540. That's the cash and investment report. Any questions on that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board?
I would request that it not be an 8-page report.
I will make a note of it and condense it. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You can print it a lot smaller than this.
Okay.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Any other questions of the board?
I have just the supplemental report. This is a quarterly general fund revenue performance report. For real estate taxes totally collected to date as of for the third quarter, we have 10,406,490, which is about 67% collected, very similar to last year of the percentage collected. The auto tax collection to date is 1,380,604, which is a little bit less than what we've collected same time last year. The county half-cent share sales tax revenue, we have collected so far 2,568,984, but we still have about three months, we're 3 months, behind of collection. And then the state shared sales tax is 4,554,461. Then the rest of the report provides the general expenditure performance of each department on the general fund, which shows every department shows up to the level where they should be at in expenditures, except for one. The recorder shows a little bit over because they've had some invoices that were left behind that needed to get paid. And then the rest of the department follows with all the other special funds, which are the grants and the road fund and all that, all the reports there. If you have any specific questions, I'll be more than glad to answer any of the specific questions.
Do you have questions?
No, sir. Thank you, Mauricio.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question on the county half-cent revenue and the state shared revenue. On the other revenues you gave state shared, the other revenues that the state collects for us, you gave us an update on where we were compared to last year, and on those two you didn't?
On these, correct. So the percentage is very similar. So on the county half-cent sales tax revenue, we are at the same at 91% collected of budgeted amount. Okay, so of our budget amount, last year we were also at 91% with a half-cent sales tax revenue. On the state shared, we are at 87.59 collected right now, and last year we were at 92%.
Of budgeted.
Of budgeted amounts, correct.
So it's
But our
probably-
sales
probably
tax-
fair- it's probably fair to say with one full quarter to go. How many months?
Yes, one full quarter to go, and we're also, we're 3 months to go, and we're also a month behind in lag time also. So it shows we're about 4 months off here. So the taxes have really been well, both our half-cent sales tax and our state shared. So we anticipate definitely being over our budgeted amount.
So
Which is
coming
a
over.
good thing.
Okay, thank you.
Great news. Hopefully it'll continue that way.
Okay, we can adjourn now, right? Okay. So we're done with the executive session. We're into action items. Item 1, discussion possible action for authorization to fill vacant Human Resources Director position, Public Telecommunicator position, Development Services Manager position, Workforce Development Specialist position, and Senior Accountant position.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second under discussion. These are all budgeted? Okay. And call all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 2, discussion possible action to approve the reappointment of Rihanna Rodriguez to the Nogales Santa Cruz County Library Board, District Number 2.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, discussion possible action to approve grant award contract CNA 23-408 with the Constable Ethics Standards and Training Board for the amount of $14,765.08 through June 30th, 2023.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and the constables can get trained. Item 4, discussion possible action to approve professional services contract with Donaldson Consulting LLC for ARPA, Small Business and Nonprofit Evaluation and Social Return on Investment Report effective December 1st, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $30,000.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Angie, you're doing a very good job. Thank you very much. Item 5, discussion possible action to award contract pursuant to B-02-23-C01C010 to Urban Scenarios LLC for services related to the Southern Arizona Culinary Tourism Initiative in the amount not to exceed $226,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6, discussion possible action to approve amendment to intergovernmental agreement number 20-0008047I for change order number 1 with the Arizona State for the Pendleton Drive Dip at Sonoy Creek project in the amount of an additional $47,500.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, discussion possible action to approve cooperative purchasing agreement with Western Emulsions, Inc. for the procurement of bituminous material under the Arizona Department. You're at the teach. What is that one?
Is it tack oil?
What is it?
Bituminous?
Bituminous material. Yeah, I'm gonna get us.
Is that tack oil?
Under the Arizona Department of Transportation, solicitation number BPM 001254.
Move to approve. Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries. Item 8, discussion possible action to approve chip sealing for Camino Caralampi, Paseo Venado, and Círculo Colandina and Calle Roblano.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 9, discussion possible action. A, discussion of Santa Cruz County workforce development. B, approve Santa Cruz County workforce development luncheon sponsorship. So I'd like to break these two apart.
That's fine. We'll do A first.
We'll do A
I
first.
hope I'm able to do it and I don't get reprimanded for what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So, for the last 2 months, I've been having meetings with the Chamber of Commerce and the Consul General Moreno, trying to engage and develop a workforce development program. And it's not taking anything away from what we have there, but it would be something to bring everybody together. So, we're calling it the Greater Ambos Nogales Workforce Development Plan. I put out a little kind of synopsis of what it is that we're planning to do. And I felt very passionate about this because everybody else is doing things and we're not. You've got the Tucson Hispanic Chamber having an economic development a meeting up there where they're charging people $75 and $50 for workforce development. We've got Cochise County now trying to get into the workforce development. I'm assuming Yuma County is doing the same thing. And when I look at what's lacking in this community is really a concrete program. I know that we have a big industry that's slated to start here in the next 5 years, and I don't know where they're gonna find the workforce. Meeting with the Consul General, he is reaching out to the universities in Sonora to be able to offer dual programs, and he wants to extend that to the universities here, ASU and the U of A. I went to a presentation from the Sonoran government at the Arizona Commerce Authority, where they are, I mean, it's incredible the type of things that they are recommending. In fact, in Hermosillo, they're looking to put a science park there. I think they already have ASU there. And most of Mexico's presidential initiatives are, and I have them here, are, of course, they're a sustainable ecosystem. They're looking at energy, strategic infrastructure, strategic minerals, human talent, electro-mobility with clean energy, the critical minerals and processing and mine exploration, lithium, EV production, electric vehicle production, critical minerals for the semiconductor industry, automotive industry, electric vehicles. And one of the things that they're looking at in Hermosillo is to create a master's and doctorate program for semiconductors, but they're also looking to identify what jobs may be needed so that they can begin to create those type of programs to be able to offer them to the public. And so when I look at what's happening here, I really don't see anything. We met with the city of Nogales last week. The city of Nogales has offered to support us in this endeavor, because I think anything that we do to develop any type of workforce development in this county will only make us stronger. And not just for mining or EVs or whatever the case may be. We want to have a program established. I saw the Undersecretary of Commerce, Alejandra, what is her last name? She was in Tucson last week, where there's all this money that has been put forward to economic development, workforce development, and we need to find a place that we can create those type of job opportunities for our members of our community, and anything that we can do to help them strengthen their skills makes this community stronger. At least we have people working with good jobs. They're able to buy their own home, they're able to pay taxes, they're able to do a lot of other things. So on May the 11th, we're going to be having a meeting here at the county. We've reached out to and invited the following people to attend. We just emailed Luis Heredia from Senator Kelly's office, Austin Kennedy from Senator Sinema's, Joseph Guzman, AZ Department of Ed, Caleb Rhodes, the Arizona Commerce Authority, Jamie Kerr, Arizona Commerce Authority, the mining inspector, Paul Marsh. He said he was, and I think the Arizona Commerce Authority hopefully will send a representative. Justin Dutram from the U of A will be here. Misael Cabrera from the U of A will be here. We've reached out to Lee Lambert, the Chancellor of Pima Community College. Fortunately, he won't be able to be here, but he is indicating that he will send people down here. We reached out to Evan McKill of the Tohono O'odham, Marv Critcher from the Pascua Yaqui Development Corporation, who said they would attend. Kathy Prather, Pima J. Ted would be here. Of course, Alfredo Velasquez and Chris Young, Angel Cantu, David Verdugo. We've reached out to David Adame from CPLC. We're waiting to hear back from him. Carlos Velasco from Novi, invited them to come in here. I think they deal with the batteries. Brian Hall, who's Clean Tech Marketing. Steve Trussell from the Arizona Mining Association, who will be here. Gabriela Castro from Trade in Motion, that identifies people looking for work and helps with the paperwork. So there's still a few other people that have been invited. We've also invited the Mexican consulate to come. They're going to have their own summit on May 12th with their group that deals with mining. But folks, I think if we don't start pouncing on this now, we're going to be left behind, and we need to capitalize on some of the things that are already happening in our community, such as we saw at the Rio Rico School District, some of the things that are happening at the Nogales Unified School District, and ultimately what Pima Community College and the state universities can do to assist us. So both of you are invited to attend on May the 11th. We're going to be here and kind of give you an idea of where it is that we want to go. We're going to reach out to WIOA also to come and be part of our group. But as we start seeing the partners, we want to craft that so it's a very inclusive partnership so that we're able to deliver each service. So that's kind of what I have, Mr. Chairman. But like I said, the state of Sonora is investing a lot of money with that science park, and they understand human capital. So that kind of concludes my report, and hopefully somewhere along the line, I mean, I'm just giving it as a report now, but hopefully at a future meeting we can bring it up for some kind of discussion and maybe validation. Once the city of Nogales, they're gonna be acting on it, I think tomorrow, so. So that's my report. So
Okay,
thoughts?
so I have a question.
Absolutely.
You're calling this the Santa Cruz County Workforce Development, and it's going to be run through the chamber?
Yes, I'm asking that the chamber run it and that, because I don't want the politics to get involved. I would rather have it be done by an outside group than us doing it here. And, you know, I think Olivia Kramer has been doing an outstanding job bringing people together. She's the one that was contacted by the Council General asking, you know, what's going on with the mine, what kind of jobs are there gonna be. So she has been very supportive, and believe it or not, she has a lot of contacts. She has a lot of people that are supporting her in this endeavor, including her board of directors, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Supervisor Malera.
Thank you, Supervisor Reese. This is a key element. I think workforce development is huge with what's going to be going on here in the near future. The other key element is housing, I think. I think housing needs to be at the same table or equally emphasized. I think it's a great idea. The only thing I didn't hear Port Authority being invited, or is the key person, which is the actual mine, South 32. Are they going to be at the table as well?
You know, I know Olivia has sent out invitations. The only list I have is the one that I currently read from, so they may have added people to there. I think they were looking to, what is the HR person for the mine? Skyler. I think they were gonna reach out to her, but like I said, I haven't seen the final list yet.
Because I like the fact that there's a lot of partners involved. I think some of the best work we've done has been through partnerships. And obviously those are, in my view, two huge partners that, especially the mine, because it pertains to the mine. But that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Maleta, for your comments, and we'll certainly incorporate, but I think at the end of the day, while we realize that the mine is the big elephant in the room, we also want to make sure that we prepare for other aspects, that we reach out to the community to see what their needs are going to be. And I know as we start seeing the mine go up there, my concern is we have grader operators and heavy equipment operators and others that may decide because of the potential for earnings, may not, but you know, there's going to be a whole list of hopefully that we can come to an agreement, and at the end of the day is try to attach ourselves to some of those federal, state dollars to be able to implement a good program. So, but I will reach out to Olivia and make sure that we invite you know, a member of the Port Authority and a member of South 32.
I think also, Supervisor Reese, you need to acknowledge the work that the county itself has been doing in this field. Since the pandemic, we've done a lot of outreach to private businesses. We have surveys, we have a lot of data that is available. And I don't see that you know, that I think you need to include the Community Development Office in that, because that is the liaison to the consultant who's doing this work.
And like I say, this is.
And this is an exploratory meeting to see what happens and see where it's going, and I also acknowledge that, because I do want to see where it does go.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I realize that, you know, we're trying to get something off the ground, and it's not usually very easy, but I think at some point in time, as we hear of some of these opportunities, then we begin to create a better system with more partners involved, and my hope is that we can have, under the umbrella of the Greater Ambos Nogales Workforce Development Plan, umbrellas to be able to take care of some of those issues and bring some of those groups to be able to participate, give us their thoughts, give us their suggestions, so that we can implement a good strategic plan that can be implemented. And is it all gonna be implemented at once? Absolutely not. But we need to decide how it is that we're gonna move forward and what the phases are gonna be and how we're gonna be, doing some of things step by step by step until hopefully it becomes second nature and it just takes care of itself.
Yeah, and I like the title that you gave it, the second one you gave it, as a Greater Almost Nogales Workforce Development Plan versus the Santa Cruz County Workforce Plan, because I don't think that that's an appropriate name. But the list of people that you've mentioned are really more connections south and batteries in those industries, whereas in Santa Cruz County, yes, we do have the mining and we're gonna have the battery stuff and we're gonna have some of those things, but we have many, many other industries in this community, tourism and retail and all this other fun stuff. That if we're gonna have a county workforce development plan, that's really kind of what custom house brokerage and produce and all of our standard industries.
The staples.
Our big two, as we would say. We're looking for
hopefully
legs.
we can create more opportunities and not overburden our two biggest. Of course, government's up there too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. So hopefully, once we have more, I'll bring it back for some type of action to approve. And I know the city is going to co-sponsor with us. So I want to thank Mayor Maldonado, Vice Mayor Bojorquez, and Councilman Doyle, who met with us at the chamber and are very much on board of helping this. So that's my report, Mr. Sheriff.
Thank you very much for sharing that on item A. And then we have item B.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go ahead and withdraw it. I don't want to be scapegoated any longer, and I will go ahead and try to find sponsorship for the lunch for our guests to come down on May the 11th. So.
Okay. And we did our proclamations, so we're done with item 9. We did our proclamations on 10, so item 11, discussion possible action on the recommendation of approval or disapproval of special events license application for the Arizona Craft Distillers Guild on 5/20/23 in Patagonia.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Jeff, was anything up on that? We're good? Sorry, Jeff Terrell, our Health Department Director. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 12, tax valuation adjustments, A through J.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 13, monthly reports. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, all monthly reports are in.
Thank you very much.
Move to accept all reports.
Second.
And motion, a second. Any discussion? Thanks for getting all these reports in every month. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 14, approval of minutes on 4/4/23.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 15, demands. Supervisor Malera.
Mr. Chair, move to approve demands totaling $967,881.48, of which $550,278.60 are from the general fund.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mauricio, the words you've been waiting to hear all day, you can pay the bills. Item 16, we did not have our executive session, so I think we need to table that item.
No.
No?
We did.
Willing to accept it.
Move to approve.
Okay. Did we publish? Okay. Item 16, discuss and possible action to appoint Jesus Valdez as the Santa Cruz County Manager effective July 15th, 2023, and approve contract or direct staff to make changes to contract, but I think we're approving the contract.
Move to
Any
approve.
discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I just
So
move to
Second.
approve.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
just, Mr. Chairman, first of all, and I've been very tough on Jennifer, but she did do a good job for us. And while I may feel how I felt right now, I still think at the end of the day, you did an outstanding job for this county, from being the chief financial officer to your time as manager, and that can't go unrecognized or unnoticed. And I want to state it publicly here that you're here because you did an outstanding job. And we may have had our issues, but that doesn't take from what you've done. And as we begin a transition process, you know, Jesus brings such a different style to management that hopefully will make us and continue to move us forward as a county with his leadership. And I have complete trust in Jesus, and I hope Jesus will feel the same about the board. And you know, I really look forward to sitting down and kind of going over some of what you expect us to do to support your term as county manager and to move forward. You know, I'm very happy. I trust you 100% like I did Jennifer, and I think that we're so thankful that we have a transition to another very qualified person within our institution. So Jennifer, thank you. Jesus, congratulations. And if you need aspirin, we'll make sure that you have them in case we give you too many headaches. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Supervisor Malera?
I just personally want to thank Jennifer for her exemplary leadership. You know, you stepped it up when you needed to. I personally thank you. And it really makes me happy that you and Jesus are collaborating and working together. And hopefully you can be at a phone call away, you know, down the road. We'd appreciate that. You know, I know some of our staff members are doing that with us, and I would love it if you down the road could come back and consult. And Jesus, you know, I personally have 100% trust in you, and I wish you luck, and I'm here to work as a team with you. Thank you both.
And Jesus, before you do any consulting, make sure you check with the lawyers.
You know?
That's it.
Okay. Jennifer, I'd like to congratulate you on a great tenure with Santa Cruz County. The finance director, and then taking those skills that you had into the leadership role of the county manager. I think there are a lot of great things that you initiated and things that you've done, and they've been all very positive. And I know you've had an incredible amount of effort has gone into your county manager position. A lot of people don't really understand. They think it's just a job, but it is a 24-hour-a-day job, and it's 365 days a year. You've got 400, you know, I don't even know what the number is right now, regular employees. You've probably got another 200 grant-funded employees. Any minute, anything can go wrong with anything, as any large organizations do. And you've dedicated yourself to making sure things have run smoothly, and I have to tell you, pretty good job. There's some wildfires got out, but you did a good job, and I want to thank you for your time and appreciate your hard work. And Jesus, I don't know what they did to convince you to take this job.
Don't talk them out of it.
But I really appreciate it. You've brought extraordinary great skills and thought process to how you've run the Public Works Department and the Flood Control Department. We've made tremendous headways in both those departments over the years and over my tenure, and even before then, with your just out of the box thinking and getting things done. And, we just got to bring the county attorneys on board, get them used to thinking a little bit out of the box, just a little. It's like I've been working with Jennifer for 5 years on gray area. There is gray in government. And that's really where you get the most movement and getting things done and moving things forward. And that's really what we're trying to do as a board. We're trying to have some continuity between what's happening from Jennifer's tenure as manager to Jesus's tenure as manager. And we just really want to move the county forward. There are so many things, and Jesus is one person. We want to be able to give him the staff so that we can move these initiatives forward, because there are a lot of them, and it's more than one person can do, and it's more than 2 people can do, and maybe 3 will still be overwhelmed. But what you need, you just need to let us know, and we're here to support you as a board. So congratulations.
And also a long, healthy retirement, or whatever it is you decide to do. I think health is important, as long as you're healthy. And be careful when you go to Alabama.
Isn't this time to give you a song?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.